We were talking about that magnitude 4.5 earthquake that hit just after 5 o'clock this morning, east-northeast of Friday Harbor. And to talk much more about this, we want to bring in Dr. Harold Tobin, the director of the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Harold, thanks so much for joining us. What do we know about this quake? Is this at a range where we don't expect any impacts or damages?
Yeah, I don't know if there have been any actual damage reports. At 4.5, that's sort of right in the area where we might start to see some low-level damage. I'd be interested to hear if anybody felt any, but certainly was widely felt, woke people up 5:02 a.m., and its magnitude 4.5 earthquake.
Yeah, and we had another earthquake of this size last week or so, if I'm remembering that right. Can you put this into context for us and describe what type of fault line we're looking at with this one?
Yeah, the region around the San Juan Islands, and in fact, generally kind of trending across towards Vancouver Island, is just crisscrossed by quite a network of faults that we have. We don't have this earthquake associated with a specific known fault yet, although that's something the PNSN is looking into closely right now. But broadly speaking, this is an area where we see seismic activity. This is larger than what we've seen in recent years, but that's kind of to be expected. And there actually have been some very small aftershocks, none of them at a size to be felt, and we expect those to continue in the future as well.
Yeah, this is great to kind of break down what we might expect next. And you're saying that there's just a very teeny tiny chance that there could be a magnitude 5 to come. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Every earthquake that happens has aftershocks typically, and they have a chance of having a larger earthquake as essentially an aftershock. So the kind of statistics just tell us that there's a 2 or 3% chance in the next week to a month of a larger earthquake of magnitude 5 or greater, and a little bit higher chance of another magnitude 4 plus, and there certainly will be earthquakes that are smaller in size continuing as aftershocks. So the chance that this is a foreshock to a larger earthquake is not huge, but is also, maybe a 1 in 20, 1 in 30 kind of chance.
So helpful to have you kind of explaining this for us, Harold. Yeah. And where do we expect like the impact zone of these potential aftershocks?
Well, basically, in this case, it would be the same area where the epicenter of this earthquake is, which is kind of the southeast end of Orcas Island. So in the San Juan regions generally, but reaching out towards Victoria, Bellingham, Everett, and so on. I know that it was felt as far south as here in Seattle. It didn't wake me up, although all the messages did immediately from my staff. Yeah. But that's what we would expect in this case. It doesn't reach out to a new location.
And how usual or unusual is this type of earthquake, and how long has it been since we've seen something like this?
Yeah, we haven't had an earthquake at 4. I'd have to check exactly, but it's certainly been some years. And I think the last, really widely felt one was the one around Monroe in 2018 that was larger than magnitude 4. I forget what the exact magnitude was in that case. So for us, they don't come super often, every few years at this kind of scale. But they're a reminder that we should be prepared for larger earthquakes. Remember, just a couple days ago was the anniversary of the Nisqually earthquake in 2001 that did a lot of damage in our region, magnitude 6.8. This isn't a sign that that's any closer to happening specifically, but it is a real reminder.
And can you remind us, in our lifetime, the chance of the big one, the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake?
Yeah, we estimate, and of course it is an estimate based on the best science we have, that a giant Cascadia earthquake of kind of magnitude 8.5 or 9 class is something like a 15 to 25% chance in the next 50 years. Okay, so sort of if you think about that as in our lifetimes, there is a significant chance, but less than 50-50 for that happening.
Okay, and so again, there might be, on the cusp of some minor damages felt in the area. Anything else we should know about the impacts we look for this morning?
Yeah, I just think this is a good time for people to certainly check things like their chimneys for cracks if they're in the really localized area. I realize that not a lot of people have a lot of chimneys in the San Juan Islands, but for the most part, I don't think people will see a lot of damage. But it's a great time to check your earthquake kit and your preparedness and think about whether your home is seismically adequately safe, retrofitted.
Oh, those are such great tips. Dr. Harold Tobin, Director of the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, we so appreciate your expertise. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.